Well, this is where we left off on video 1. We've got the carcass of the bread box made. And now the first thing we're going to do this video is make the tambour lid. This is the bottommost piece of the tambour lid. I'm routing a decorative edge on the top of it right now. And now I'm ripping it to width. Also putting a 30-degree bevel on the bottom of it, so that when the door is closed, it fits nice and tight against the bottom of the bread box. I've set up a stop block in combination with my T-square, and I'm making tenons on the end of the piece. These will fit in the groove in the bread box that we've already routed. Here I'm clipping the edges of the tenons with the coping saw. This is just a little extra insurance that they're not going to bind in the track. Let's give it a test fit. It seems to do pretty well. Next we have to make the rest of the slats for the tambour. So I've put a 1/4 inch roundover bit in the router table, and I'm easing both edges. Now that we've got the profile we want, we'll take it over to the table saw and rip it down to 1/2 inch. And then it's just a matter of doing that 14 more times. After a little light sanding, we'll see what they look like. We need a jig to hold our tambour pieces square and tightly together while we glue the fabric on the back. That's what I'm building here. Once I lay the tambour pieces in there, I tape them with painter's tape to keep them in bunches. This is just a regular old canvas drop cloth that I decided to use for the fabric on the back. It worked pretty well. I'm just using regular old carpenter's glue to adhere the canvas fabric to the back of the tambours. Now I'm using this board to clamp it down and hold pressure on it. I actually went back and glued popsicle sticks over the fabric, thinking it would make it hold better. All I accomplished was making it look ugly. But oh well, it'll be covered when we're done. Here's a test fit to see how it rolls. It's a little bit rough. I'm going to have to work on the track a little before we're done. But let's build a handle first. In the router table, I've put the roundover bit back in it, and now I'm rounding over all the front edges of the handle. Now we'll switch to what's called a 1/2 inch core box bit. This will allow us to plow out the recess in the bottom of the handle. I've got it marked where I need to plow it out, so I'm careful where I plunge it in and take it out so as I don't go out the ends. I'll make this groove in 3 passes, taking a little bit more each time. And there we have it. We'll be attaching the handle with carpenter's glue. To hold it while it dries, we're going to put a couple of brads in it first to pin it in place. Now we're going to pre-drill and put 2 screws in it from the back. That'll really hold it good. Now to work on that track. I'm using the Dremel tool with the drum sander attachment to widen it, especially in the 90-degree portion where it goes around the corner. We need a back wall inside there, not only to cover the ugly popsicle sticks, but also to keep things from getting pinched by the door when it opens. This 1/4-inch Luan does nicely, but it's so thin you can't nail it, so we're going to use some CA glue to glue it. You may know this as super glue. First I apply the glue and then I spritz it with an activator. This activator makes it instantly set so you don't have to wait for it. Next we'll glue and nail on the top. We want to make sure the overhang is equal on both sides. It's starting to look like a bread box. Now we got to attach the back. This we can nail. We just use really short nails so they don't go through into the track. Now to fill all those nail holes, we use lightweight spackle. I've said before I like to use lightweight spackle on projects I'm painting because it dries fast and you don't have to sand it and you can paint it right away. We want this thing to look old, so I'm using various implements of destruction to put dings and nicks in it. This simulates years of wear and tear and abuse. I fashioned this jig out of an empty paint can and a 2x4. It allows the tambour to droop over it, so when I'm spraying it, I get between every little board. I put a total of 3 coats of spray paint. We need to make a template to paint bread on the front of the tambour. I found a font I liked on the computer and I printed out the word bread in appropriate size letters. Now I'm just using a glue stick to glue it on a piece of poster board. I'm going to freehand the little swoopy tail that goes down below it. Mrs. Tinkerer said it reminds her of a baseball jersey. I tend to agree. Now I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut out all the black letters. I had to be mindful for the letters that had a white spot in the center of them, like the E and the A and the D. I had to stencilize those on my own. I left a tab of the letter not cut out so that it would keep the centers located where they needed to be. Tiny Tinkerer has a better eye, so he's centering it on the bread box. Now we're going to use just white latex paint to paint it. Oh, this isn't paint, this is my milk. Here's the paint. We have to use a fairly dry brush so the paint doesn't run under the stencil. And then I just dab it on. I'll come back here in a minute and touch it up. Now we're going to remove the stencil so we can do the touch-up work. Using an artist brush, I go in and fill in any little voids. After the paint's thoroughly dry, I use a black Sharpie to outline all the white letters. It really makes them pop. Plus it cleans up the edges a little bit. Painting happy little letters. The bread box is too shiny. We need to scuff it up and simulate some wear. For this, we're going to use a piece of sandpaper. I'm going to degloss the whole thing with the sandpaper, but I'm going to pay special attention to the edges and corners and places that might naturally be worn. We'll simulate this by sanding a little bit more off. Don't forget the inside. And the handle. The handle would be a place that would naturally be worn more than others. And then all that pretty paint work, we're going to scratch some of that off. And here we got the finished product. I think it turned out pretty well. Our dings and scratches and scuffs make it look like it's been around a while. Well, here's our bread box compared to the one that Mrs. Tinkerer saw originally. They're very similar in make and size. There are some differences though that I did on purpose. I like the wooden handle on mine. I don't like an old window sash lift as a handle. Mine's a little bit taller and my tambour is made a little bit differently. I just like that classic rolled top desk look. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video series. I hope you learned a few things. I know I did. I know how to make a tambour now and what to do and what not to do. So, until next time, thanks for watching.